So for session number 4, we're going to be finishing up the analysis of the spirit. So I hope you all are doing well this evening. Let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can bring up what I wanted to talk about. So a lot of you all have been doing your dump list, you've been going through a release process, and then you're like, okay, I have to go back into the real world. I have to deal with my family. I have to deal with my coworkers. I have to deal with the world in essence. But how do I protect my energy? How do I keep myself moving forward, around toxic people? How do I, not allow their energy to affect me? So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening, which is a very, very interesting portion because it help us to understand how to truly be that balanced person. Okay, because ultimately, I won't say that you shouldn't feel worried, stressful, or fearful, but what I would want you all to know is that is a sign that you're around a toxic person or that you're dealing with a toxic environment. That's the signal, okay? If somebody makes you stressed, if somebody causes you to feel, not the way that you want to in the terms of being balanced, if somebody causes you to, want to lash out at them, you got to take notice to that, right? That is the body's warning system. Body's like, okay, we're approaching some conflict. What's going on? Okay, so at that time, it's going to be your responsibility to identify the person or place or thing, the food, the person, the environment. And then it's your responsibility to understand how to communicate with them effectively, positively. That's what effective communication means, just communicating in a positive way, okay? Verbal non-communication in a positive way. And then how to set boundaries with that person because like you said, you want to protect your energy. We need to protect our energy. And you don't want to do all that healing work and then be around toxic people all day because it can become draining. But I want to talk about some things that you can implement tonight, to help you to balance your energy and keep your environment as kosher as possible and as in alignment with your goals as possible. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Share my screen. All right. So here we go. This is also a training that's inside of the portal, but we're going to go deep into it. And I'm going to be answering your questions. And I'm also going to be answering your questions live and giving you more insight on this actual topic. Dealing with toxic people. Sometimes it's not you, family. Sometimes you can do everything right, but a person is toxic. They haven't gone through what you've gone through. They have not done the self-assessment. They are not caring to do a self-assessment, or they're eating junk food. They cannot even access themselves. You have to be aware of that, okay? You have to know that because you will find yourself getting into conversations with people, expecting it to go one way, and it goes the whole other way. And that can sometimes hurt you and make you feel bad. But we're going to talk about how to guard ourselves around those situations. Okay, so what you will learn, the problem with communication today, the purpose of communication, how to communicate effectively, how to communicate with men and women, how to communicate with a hostile person, how diet affects communication, and then we're going to talk about some remedies when it comes to communication. All right, so the problem as we talked about in session number 1, there's a lot of gossip talking, right? Gossip talking has become our culture. It is our culture to study dysfunction. That's why we have the talk shows, we have the reality TV shows, we have the movies. They are teaching us how to be dysfunctional. Okay, you rarely see movies where it's all about bliss and peace or somebody on their journey to really understanding their spirit. Those movies are few and far in between. All right, but everything that we see when we turn on TV, when we turn on social media, is all about dysfunction. Okay, from the show Maury. Okay, we're talking about families that are broken up, women that don't acknowledge their divinity, men that don't acknowledge their divinity. We see people that are teenagers that are just living their lives and not honoring their sacred vessel. So that is showing you all of dysfunction that is in the world. Okay, they put it on the stage for you to see and for you to learn. You may say, I watch all these shows and I'm okay. It doesn't bother me. But I want to challenge that and help you to understand that the brain is an image associating organ. Okay, so the brain, when you're watching a movie, it does not differentiate from reality in a movie. That's why when we watch scary movies, we get scared like it's happening to us, okay? When we watch something funny, we laugh and we joke and we're in a joyful mood. That is because our brain is learning and dissecting the information, and it cannot differentiate from the real versus the fake, which is the movie, right? So same thing with, as I said, with reality TV shows, we're highlighting dysfunctional behavior, okay? Even TV programming. I mean, why is it called programming? Why is everything programming? You got to just see things through your third eye and see what it really is, okay? So most of the time in our community, we communicate based on what we see on TV. And you have to know that when you're dealing with toxic people, when you're about to approach a toxic person or go to a family function, you know, people are arguing over food, they're arguing over whatever it may be. They are learning their communication from television, okay? All right, so the purpose of communication is to establish Mayat. Mayat is an African principle. It was what civilizations used to honor and establish balance, okay? So Mayat, in short, represents righteousness, balance, justice, purpose, togetherness, reciprocity, and liberty. Okay, so that is what we should be establishing when we are communicating. We are supposed to be establishing Mayat, establishing a sense of balance. If you communicate with somebody and it ends up in an argument, you're not communicating. Okay, that's not communication. Communication should always bring two people closer together, not further apart. Okay, so how to communicate. As a person that is approaching someone and you wish to exchange a dialogue with them, you should be empathetic, especially when you're approaching someone with a criticism. Okay, so if you're about to criticize someone on how they've been treating you, or you're about to criticize someone on how they've been treating others, you should show up with empathy. Okay, empathy does not mean you're sympathetic. That just means I understand your logic, but that does not mean that they don't be held accountable. See, sometimes we become sympathetic, meaning we're like, oh my God, that's okay. We want to rub them and hold them, and that's fine as long as they're able to verbally voice their own way that they have hurt you. If they don't agree with you in the sense of they agree that they've done something wrong to hurt you, there's no reason to be empathetic or sympathetic. You got to create boundaries. We're going to get into that in a little while. So I'm just giving you the key points on how you should make sure you're approaching someone in a positive way. Being empathetic, okay? Have positive body language, you know. Don't be like pointing your finger at them like, you've been messing up my house for 3 years and you need to clean it up now. That's not positive body language. That makes the person get offensive, okay? Or defensive. They get on the offense and they react in a defensive way. All right, try to speak as clear as possible. And this is mostly with older people, like, you know, you're going talking to your mom or your dad, they'll be like using slang on them and saying, man, you be capping and saying all that stuff, okay? People don't understand it. You don't want them to get lost in the dialogue, okay? You want to be clear. Don't try to avoid what you're saying. Be very direct, okay? Express what you want and what you will give. This is establishing boundaries, okay? You have to express what you want. After you criticize someone, okay, you have to express what your expectations are, and because they are, you know, upholding your expectations, you have to reward them. What is the reward that you will give them? There has to be rewards and punishment. One thing I do want to mention, when you are bringing a critical opinion to somebody that you love or any other person that you having a dialogue with, make sure whatever you're criticizing them on can actually be changed, right? So don't criticize somebody on the way that they hold, you know, their mouth when they're talking, you know, especially if they have some type of illness or something like that. Just make sure you are speaking to them and talking about and criticizing something that they can actually change, right? You know, if you know that they have a learning disability, don't criticize them on the way they learn, or them not being able to understand what you're saying, how it should be received, right? So make sure whatever you're criticizing them on can actually be changed. That's a big one. Most of the time we want to criticize people on things that they have no power of changing. So once you set the boundary, we're going to talk about boundaries in a moment, make sure you give them a reward if they uphold and respect your boundary. If they do not respect your boundary, you have to let them know that there will be a punishment. And you're laying all of this out on the table in that dialogue, okay? You don't say it in a way where you want to have authority over the person, but you just say, you know, this is what I expect from our relationship. For example, I'm gonna use a relationship with a man or a woman. I expect, there to be trust. I expect that we can talk about our problems and not yell. I expect that we won't cheat on each other, right? If we can uphold that, you will have my loyalty, reward, okay? You will have my trust, reward, okay? And I vow, like people when they get married, I vow to be with you forever, reward, okay? Now, you have to tell them the punishment. I do want to be with you, but if my boundaries are, not acknowledged, or if my boundaries are crossed or disrespected, I unfortunately won't be able to be in this relationship with you. Punishment. Okay, let's say it's not a relationship. Let's say it's with your children. We give children's boundaries all the time, mostly around school. But let's say we're talking about, how to uphold their relationship with their siblings. Okay, children, if you all play together in a way that is positive, we will go to the fair tonight. Okay, if you guys are arguing and if you're throwing things around the room, you all will have to write a letter of apology to each other, right? So you always want to be setting these rewards and punishments up for any person. This is how our brain works. This is how our brain realizes something is good or something is bad. So then at the end, you come up with the plan. Now the plan is usually if somebody has disrespected your boundary, and you have not decided to sever the relationship, you have to come up with a plan. So that means, let's say somebody, you got in an argument with your loved one, and one of your boundaries was you get, stressed out when y'all get into a yelling and screaming match, but y'all got into a yelling and screaming match. Then you have to create a plan. After you guys calm down, you come back to the person with positive, nonverbal, and verbal communication, and you have to understand what happened. Okay, how do we get to this point? Okay, once you figure out what the problem was, how y'all got to that point, then y'all create a plan to make sure that doesn't happen. Right, so you'll learn about your partner, you'll learn about your child, you'll learn about whoever the relationship is with, you'll learn about them and you'll learn about their triggers, okay? So you create a plan on how you guys will get back to a balanced state of being. All right, so how to criticize. Criticism should be constructive, okay? Don't criticize somebody to tear them down. Okay, before you criticize somebody, you should plan it out. Don't say the criticism in the heat of the moment. Like somebody made you mad and you want to criticize them in that moment, because more than likely you're going to say it in a way that is offensive to them. Okay, you'll say it in a way that hurts them. You don't want to criticize people in front of people, especially your children or especially your partner. Okay, you want to wait till the appropriate time. When you criticize somebody, you be specific. Stick to one criticism per conversation. That's like the rule of thumb, right? If you go to your husband and be like, you left the toilet seat up, you yell at me all the time, your baby mama be calling, it's like, oh my God, you're attacking them. So you want to be specific with your criticism. Try to limit to one per conversation, okay? Make sure what you're criticizing them about can be changed. We already went over that, okay? So when you're criticizing them, you share opinions, exchange information. Remember, communication should be bringing you closer together. Share opinions, okay? So let's say you're talking about a past event that happened with your loved one, and you're talking about how it hurt you. Share your opinion and your feelings on that. Listen for their opinion. Maybe, in the way that you guys communicated, what they was actually trying to say came out the wrong way. Hear them out. Give them the opportunity to express themselves. Exchange information. Exchange information basically means talk about your triggers. Now remember, this is a healthy communication. Healthy. Exchange information with them. Understand what their triggers are. If somebody comes to you with a criticism, they say, what you said yesterday really hurt me. Oh my gosh, why did it hurt you? Because it made me feel XYZ. Have I ever made you feel that way before? Can you tell me about other times that I made you feel like that? That's exchanging information so you can understand your relationship and the nature of the relationship with the person. Address one issue at a time. Use I statements. When you say I, it's taking ownership. You want to take ownership of the problem. How many times you bring a problem to somebody else and they kind of like dancing around the idea? Well, I hear what you're saying, but I apologize, but I don't feel like I really. Use I statements. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I agree with you that I can do it in a better way. Just use I statements because it shows ownership. Okay. When you finally criticize the person, when you set whatever your boundary is, again, you offer incentives. Offer incentives. Don't allow negative feelings to color your words. A lot of people say, this is how you really feel when you act a certain way when you're mad. That's not true. How they act when they're mad is how they act when they're mad, okay? How you act when you're happy is how you act when you're happy. People say things under pressure, okay? They get into a fight and flight mode. So they say things to kind of help them and soothe them, especially in the argument. People want to win. They want to have the last word. Nobody wants to be demeaned. That's why it's not good to get in screaming matches, okay? Because at that point, it's about ego. It's not about the relationship anymore, right? So that's why I say, if you feel that, you know, it elevates to that point where you got about to get in a screaming match and you feel yourself becoming very stressed out, very angry, you may need to take a breather, go into meditation, take a walk, whatever it is. Okay, just don't allow yourself to react in those negative emotions. All right, and recognition, that's again, you know, using the I statements, taking ownership. Recognize how you have affected that person, okay, especially if you're on the receiving end of the criticism, and help that person to recognize how whatever they did has affected you. Okay, this is the positive way to criticize someone. A lot of us avoid criticism only because we don't know how to effectively do it. We don't want people to take things the wrong way. But if you're using positive body language, positive nonverbal communication, okay, you're only criticizing them in one conversation with one issue. You're being specific, you're being direct, setting your boundary, using the I statement and hear them out, sharing information. It should end up in a space that is more balanced. And at the end of the exchange, you guys should be hugging and, you know, happy and saying, you know what, I enjoy having you in my life. That's what we ultimately want to do. Okay, so when communicating with men think first and feel second. Let's say, so men are naturally logical versus emotional. So if you're approaching a man with a criticism, or to criticize them, don't talk about your feelings. I feel like you was being mean to me, because to them, that's not logical. They probably were not being mean to you. They just said it in a harsh way. So they're gonna be like, what do you mean? I wasn't mean to you, right? They're logically thinking about what they actually meant. I actually meant to say this in a more firm way, and I apologize if it came off in an aggressive manner. So if you approach them with the way you said that was aggressive and it hurt my feelings, that's different. They can hear the logic in it. Okay? So anytime you talk to men, think logical first, or express the logic first. Allow yourself to feel, because we're masculine and feminine energy, so we're going to be duality. They're going to be thinking while we feel it. And while we feeling, they're going to be thinking. Okay? So same thing to the men. If you have, you know, a husband or a father and you guys have a communication problem, sit down with them and let them know, you know, I think you should know that I'm actually feeling while you're thinking. Okay? Communicating with women feel first and think second. So if you're approaching your mom, you're approaching your god sister, you're approaching your best friend, whoever it may be, you want to remember to talk to them about feelings. This is why it doesn't work when you try to approach women with logic. They get aggressive. Okay, you might be saying, what I'm saying makes sense. I know it makes sense. But they are hearing you judging them because they're feeling. They're not thinking first. So you want to approach them with your feelings. You know, I feel that our relationship is very strained. I feel that our relationship is not heading in the right direction. Always talk about your feelings and how whatever they have done has made you feel. Women feel first and think second. Men are reversed. They think first and feel second. Once you get into great positive spaces with some people, you definitely need to let them know this information. Okay, so communicating with hostile people, all right? So remember, everything we talked about was communicating with a person who is equally ready to admit their faults. If you approach somebody with a criticism and you're approaching them to help them to understand how what they said or did has affected you in a negative way, and they don't admit that they did that, end the conversation. I'll say, okay, thank you. Don't take it personal. It's not that it didn't happen. It's the fact that they're not ready to own up to it. You cannot change a person's thinking, the way they think. You cannot change that. We get ourselves in a lot of issues by trying to change the way a person thinks or trying to make them understand what happened. They know what happened, but if they're not ready to accept it, there's absolutely nothing you can do. If a person's not ready to look at how to change their life through fruits and vegetables and live a wholesome way, nothing you can do about that. If you bring it to your family and your family is not ready to get off of medication, they want to, continue taking medication, they don't want to eat healthier, there's nothing you can do about that. But if a person is like, oh my God, you're right, I do see how meat is leading me down this path, that's somebody you can talk with. And that's an effective communication. All right, but if you bring a criticism to someone and they get hostile, what you do at that moment, only answer questions. Do not reply to the snide remarks, okay? Do not reply to the under the belt things that they say to you to hurt your feelings. Do not reply, only answer questions. So this is perfect for people who are living with others that are hostile or that are toxic, okay? And you approach them to have a conversation and it turns into a screaming match, no more talking. If they ask you a question, only answer the question. Do not respond to remarks. Don't get into name calling, okay? You can describe to them what they're doing, but only to the effect of helping them to understand. So they may say, why you're not talking to me? That's a question. I'm not talking to you because, and then you say it. They get into a screaming match, no more talking. They ask you a question, answer the question. You keep your positive, nonverbal, and verbal communication skills. Don't do it like I ain't talking to you because that's not positive, y'all. All right, you remain the wholesome, balanced one. When they ask you a question, be specific. Show no hostility. If they continue to be toxic after about 2 or 3 attempts of you trying to communicate with them, end the conversation. Nothing else to talk about. Okay, so a lot of us, I don't know if you've seen me talk about this before on Instagram or anything like that, but diet affects the communication. We have people that are eating McDonald's all day, drinking soda pop, drinking 1% juice. They're drinking a whole lot of things, eating a whole lot of things all day long. They've never seen a vegetable in the last 10 years, okay? Only time they ate a vegetable was out of canned good or during hurricane season or whatever it may have been. You have to realize chemicals inhibits your ability to access your intelligence, okay? What does that mean? Everyone has a pineal gland, which is known as basically the center of our intelligence. Okay, we know the pineal gland for releasing melatonin to help you to get sleepy and go to sleep at night, but it's actually the center of our intelligence. So when you eat foods that have a high concentration of chemicals or sugar or salt, it calcifies the pineal gland. Okay, they cannot access their intelligence. So you're literally speaking to someone that has been watching how to communicate through movies, TV programming, reality TV shows, talk shows, okay? You're talking to someone who cannot take criticism, and then on top of that, their diet is junk. A lot of carbs, especially the junk food carbs, honey buns, burgers, pizzas, etc., contains yeast. Yeast causes anger and aggression. So remedies, and I like to put this in there because we're definitely going to be going into the remedies next week, which is going to be phenomenal. Okay, so glycine. Glycine is a fat, and you can find it at a health food store, such as Whole Foods. Make sure when you're buying any supplements, you're buying the vegan version of the supplements. Okay, so it should say no fillers, no yeast. Okay. It should say non-GMO, no dairy, but glycine is an anti-anxiety remedy that you can take. It stops you and helps you from becoming uncontrollably upset. And this is why it's important to understand how food inhibits the diet or gives life to the diet. Because if you're eating a lot of junk foods, some of the amino acids, some of the proteins that are available in the body, you cannot access them, or they have a diet that is deficient in these minerals. Your body needs minerals in order to carry out its processes. Everything Everything is a symptom of a mineral deficiency or some other type of imbalance in the body. And we're going to get into that next week about remedies and understanding which deficiencies shows up as which symptoms. But more than likely, if a person is deficient in fat in their diet, they will have issues with anxiety. Okay, they'll have issues with worrying. They'll have issues with anger. Melatonin helps you to absorb more information. Okay, melanin is a very, very sensitive mineral. Highly intelligent as well. We talked about melanin being in the amniotic fluid of a baby as well, and in the beginning of the lesson or beginning of the class last week. Melanin helps you absorb information. GABA, okay, can also be found in Whole Foods, GMC, GNC, all those different stores, with a Vitamin Shop, GABA. You'll usually see that on the bottle. It will say GABA. It helps you to control your feelings. It is a fat in the body as well. Glutamine helps build memory. So you're talking to people and they're like, I don't remember that happening. Either they're lying or they might be deficient of fat. Eat raw foods as much as possible. Raw foods have an abundance of minerals, okay? When you cook food, you lose about 40 to 60% of the minerals that are in the food. Other sources to get your minerals will be multivitamins. Again, I have nothing against multivitamins as long as they are vegan and they are made from plant materials. Don't buy minerals or vitamins that have, different types of chemicals in it. Okay, a lot of minerals have, I've seen some that had dust in it, that had wood chips in it. I've seen stuff with all types of things in it. So you want to read the ingredients of everything that you buy, but most importantly, you want to read the ingredients of the minerals. Minerals are not regulated by the FDA. You want to get minerals and supplements that are derived from fruits and veggies. I highly recommend, once we start talking about remedies and you start looking at the different herbs and stuff that you want to use, I highly recommend that you buy your herbs from places like Frontier. And we're going to talk about this next week. But Frontier Botanicals, Star West Botanicals, I highly recommend you just buy the herb, grind it down to a powder, and then take the powder like that as a mineral versus buying these supplements in the stores. I buy them sometimes when I don't have the mineral or the specific herb, but if you are buying the vitamins, please make sure they are derived from vegetables and fruits. Can't go wrong. All right, so that's the end of this session. Not this session, but this PowerPoint. Does anybody have questions on that before I switch to the next PowerPoint? On setting boundaries?
I do, Rachel. I want to know.
Anybody know? Okay.
I do.
Let me go to the next one. Setting boundaries.
I do.
Okay, setting boundaries. Very important to set boundaries with everybody, okay? Everybody, especially after you finish this 30-day healing journey or even this week, it's up to you. You need to start letting people know what your boundaries are. We are going to do homework where we practice that, but you got to set boundaries with everybody, your children, your significant other, because you have to protect your energy. It's very important if you want to feel safe. What you will learn, why it's important to establish boundaries, how to find toxicity in your life, writing your boundaries, how to stick to your boundaries, and dealing with toxic people as it relates to your boundaries. Why this is important. It's important in order to accomplish self, family, and career goals. Okay, this is how you resist domination. A lot of you, when I went through your dump list, through childhood, we have been dominated by our parents and their feelings and their emotions. And sometimes that's why it's very hard for us to speak up when we see an injustice being done to other people or being done to us. Okay, we kind of become that doormat type of person. All right, so being able to set your boundaries raises your self-esteem by avoiding unnecessary conflict. All right, so find the toxicity in your life. Everybody knows how to do the dump list, okay? Anytime, and I'm gonna say this throughout the rest of the course, anytime you have a feeling or emotion or you wanna release something but you don't understand where it's come from, always refer to your dump list. This is the only way that you will be able to get those clear thoughts onto a sheet of paper and be able to analyze it. Pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your habits, pinpoint core trauma, no gray areas. Either the person is toxic or not, the food is toxic or not, the thought is toxic or not. Don't be teeter-tottering, okay? See things as they are. Evaluate others and your environments, always. Always constantly evaluate yourself and your environments and anything that you have to constantly be in connection with. Okay, so writing boundaries. Hard lines. When you write these boundaries, this is what you're sticking to. Don't bend them for anyone. Don't bend them for yourself, for your children. Don't bend them for your parents, for the job. Don't bend your boundaries. You are in control of your vessel. So hard line boundaries look like, and usually start with, I will not, they cannot, I only tolerate. Okay? So I know we did our dump list and I had you all to write fire letters to your mom or your dad. Right now, I want you to take a few minutes and write 3 boundaries for your mom and 3 boundaries for your dad. If those people are no longer here with you, if they have transcended to the next realm, then whoever it is that's around you that's toxic, I want you to create 3 hardline boundaries for them. Starting with, I will not, they cannot, I only tolerate. You know, boundaries make life so much easier when we effectively instill them into our lives, because people know what to expect. It's not like, you know, people, that doesn't mean people always, you know, uphold your boundaries, but they know what to expect. You know, when they see you, after they explode on you, they're like, dang, and they calm down. She told me she wasn't finna deal with this. And when you come back to have that conversation, there's no reason for you to bend it. There's no reason for you to, you know, expense your own sanity because somebody else cannot control their attitude or control how they communicate. And this helps them to become accountable. And we got like another 30, 60 seconds on writing the boundaries. What's really interesting and something I want to mention as well, encourage your children to write boundaries for you. You know, sometimes they make absurd boundaries like, I will only eat candy for dinner. Yeah, they do that sometimes, but just encourage them to get them into the motion of practicing how to protect their energy with their peers. They'll be more confident, okay, especially around bullies. This is what I do with my children, okay? Establishing boundaries, helping them to understand how to heal and how to understand that how they feel matters. How you feel matters, okay? Okay, sticking to it, food boundaries. Now that you've written the boundaries for the people, I want you to write 3 boundaries for yourself around food. Centered around food. So if you're, you know, trying to let go of caffeine addiction, what are your 3 boundaries as it comes to eating food or drinking the coffee? Be prepared and respect yourself. Being prepared helps you to be able to get out of situations where you're at a party or you're at a celebration and they have this food, you know, that you've been trying to stay away from. Once you kind of set these hard line boundaries, you'll think of them every time you look at the food. and what we want to do. The way that we're able to break our relationship with food is by replacing the positive relationship we have with it with the negative. Replace the positive relationship with a negative. That's why I do that all the time on Instagram. Like today I posted the video about, what was it I posted today? What was it that I posted? Oh, eggs. I did eggs today. I speak like that because I help people to create a negative bond with the food. That's what helps them to break the relationship. Same thing, you have to do that with yourself, with food, and with people. If you can't get over that ex, you can't get over that way somebody hurt you, replace the positive bond that you have with that person with a negative one. All right, mental boundaries. Mental boundaries, we already started last class where we talked about 6 statements. That's boundaries that you're creating for your mental health. Spiritual boundaries. Spiritual boundaries is basically what are you going to tolerate in your environment. The quickest way to become reconnected with self and to ground self is to spend time in nature. We are made up of the same minerals, water, as the earth. Okay, so we have a divine connection to the earth. Spend time in nature when you need to get your thoughts together, when you're writing your 6 statements. Whenever you're doing some type of healing work, always spend time in nature. That's a very good boundary for yourself. Whenever you want to do healing, it needs to be me time, and you need to combine that with nature. Okay, so dealing with toxic people, especially if you're about to approach somebody that has hurt you. You know, some of us, I believe one of you all asked me, you know, can I share my boundaries or my dump list with my mom? You got to prepare for that. Prepare for the engagement, because although we want it to go the right way, most of the time, if the person is not ready to accept their own thoughts, it won't end up in the right way. So you need to prepare for that. Set a time, set a peaceful environment, go out in nature with the person, prepare and set up the interaction with the person in the most positive way as possible. So if you know the person loves to eat a nice dinner, take them to a nice vegan restaurant. If you know the person likes massages, give them a massage. Say it in a way that they can be in a more peaceful state of being. Again, don't tell them in front of a crowd of people. Don't tell them in front of their husband, their wife. Tell them on a one-on-one basis. Be positive. Positive communication, verbally or non-verbally. Ask for respect. Okay, when you're coming to the person, you know, I want to talk to you, mom, dad. Let's say you're talking to your mom. Hey, mom, I want to talk to you a little bit about the way I've been feeling lately and what I feel that has been a big impact on my life, or how I felt when I was a child. Mom, I want to talk to you about that. You know, I love you, and I know that, because we're talking to a woman, we're talking about emotions. You know, I love you, and I know that you love me as well, and I know that you put your all into raising me. I want to share some emotions with you, and all I want for us is to just be respectful during this time. I love you so very much. Then you go in with the criticism. I do want you to understand, if the person, you know, doesn't respond in a way that is great in your eyes, it may take more than one encounter. Okay, it may take more than one encounter. You have to understand that they are dealing with their own trauma. Everybody hasn't gone on this journey as you. Okay, they're dealing with trauma and mineral deficiency more than likely. So for that reason, you be empathetic. If they're not ready to accept what happened, and this is somebody who you're not going to separate yourself from, just be empathetic, give them their space, allow them to process whatever it is that you're telling them. But if they do start to yell, okay, if they do start to become irate, only answer questions, you switch right to that thought process. No name calling, okay, no converting into their toxic energy. But if that doesn't happen, you just continue to be specific with your communication. So mom says, okay, daughter, thank you so much. I will respect what you say. I'm here to listen. I want to do this with you. Okay, mom, when I was a child, when you used to beat me, it made me feel like I wasn't important to you. And I noticed, you know, because I'm going on my healing journey, I noticed that that causes me to procrastinate in life, you know, because I feel like I'm going to fail at the project or I'm not good enough to complete the project. It makes me feel like I am not worthy to really do the assignments that I have to do. And I really think that's why I'm failing in college. You know, if that's what's going on. You let them know what's going on, being specific. Okay. Your mom says, wow, you know, that's a lot. And I understand your feelings. That's great. That's great. That's positive communication. They are accepting their faults. Your mom says, no, you're not going to get out of this like this. I've been spending all this money on this college education. You accept that and you move on. She's not ready. But if they accept their faults, there we go. Positive communication. And that is what we talked about as it relates to establishing boundaries with your family. Now I'm going to read the questions that we have for tonight. I know you guys are ready to get into remedies next session. Let me bring up the questions to see if we had any. And I can also check the chat. What's happened to my screen? It got smaller. And then I have a surprise. One second. Should have done this before, but after I read these questions, we're gonna do a little surprise. We're gonna do a quick little role playing. But I wanna make sure I get these questions real quick.
Hey, Arisha, before you start, hello? Yeah, okay. She can't hear us.
Maybe you should write it in the chat because she did say she's gonna check the chat, you know, for
okay, questions. I was just gonna tell her that. Let's go. Where can we find seeded fruit like watermelon? It's hard to come by some seeded watermelon. You just have to search high and low. Okay, they go out their way to genetically modify. How do I do a cleanse juicing only and make sure I get all nutrients I need? Also, you recommend any recipes or guides for juicing? You would know how to create your own juices. However, juicing is not something that you should do long term, okay? If you're doing it as a detox, then I say a detox should not last more than about 14 days at the most, okay? Only way that you can supplement and add more minerals is through things like sea moss and herbs, okay? If you do juicing, I personally recommend blending, but if you do juicing, then and it's not going to be a detox, then do it up until 12 p.m. But just juicing alone will not give you all the nutrients that you need, okay? Because you're going to need some of your energy from carbs, okay? Rarely fruit has protein in it, okay? So you won't be able to get all the minerals that you need off of just doing fruit without any supplements or herbs. So to answer your question, you will need supplements or herbs. It's a little ant right here. Okay. 36. How to manage G6PD illness. Husband has it and claims it's an iron deficiency, but doesn't know how to manage it. Extremely tired all the time. Okay, so we're going to talk about supplements because, again, we're going to need a whole hour to talk about that and deficiencies and how to understand how to heal them. That's why I said that last time. But basically, you have to know how to also take your minerals. Just like we have to pair food correctly, you have to pair the minerals correctly. Steps of combating hair loss and growth. We're going to talk about that in the next class, y'all. I don't want to spoil it. Is there any way to communicate with you one-on-one? Yes, send me an email. What do you think about mixing juices and fruits when putting together in the juices? What do you think about mixing juices and fruits? Do you mean like store-bought juice? That's what I'm thinking. As long as it pairs correctly, there should be fine. No added sweeteners, no added chemicals. You should be good. But I don't know, why wouldn't you just want to make the juice and then use that juice to make more juice? That's what I would do. I have a juice and smoothie business. Since I first started, my goal was to give my customers the best and healthiest options they can find. But I would like to know if that's healthy to drink. I don't understand the question. Mixing juices and fruits? What do you mean by that? Like,
I'm trying to.
I love oatmeal. Is there any plant milk I can use to make it better? No, you need to make your oatmeal with water, ideally. That's what I do. What daily routine would you recommend to start your day to Okay, what daily routine do you recommend to start your day do's and don'ts? Example, meditation, no social media. What daily routine would you recommend? If you're in the building, please ask that question again because I don't understand. What daily routine would you recommend to start your day do's and don'ts? How do I start my day off good? Well, you definitely need some time to self, if that's what you're asking. If you need time for self in the morning time, you have to do it. Okay, don't just start your day and got to go somewhere, right? Ideally, you should follow the circadian rhythm, but I know our lifestyles are not that way anymore. So for me, I do not do anything outside of personal healing until 12 o'clock when I start eating my solid foods and grains. That's my personal way I live my life. So I'm doing meditation, I'm doing self-reflection all the way up until 12 o'clock. That's why sometimes I don't come in talking to the group until a later time in the afternoon. What books or educational materials can you recommend for further study? Absolutely. I'm going to actually give y'all a resource list at the end of the class, but if you want to learn more, especially about like, the zodiac and food pairing and the body in general, I highly recommend Holistic Self-Diagnosis. That is a big textbook. It's about 600 some pages. That's going to keep you reading for like 3 or 4 years. And I highly recommend Holistic Self-Diagnosis because it has everything when it comes to holistic health within it. Okay, and then a supplementary book as well would be Herbal Remedies A to Z. We're going to get into that next week when we start talking about remedies, but that's a really, really good book when it comes to understanding herbs as well as what herbs qualify as. So next week, we're going to talk about which herb has vitamin A, vitamin D, all those good things. That book helps you with that. When your mother lives with you and she is toxic, how do you handle this? We just talked about that. And still help her and be there for her in the midst of it all. If she's ready to accept her faults, you can be there for her, but you gotta set boundaries. You cannot allow people to walk over you. If your mom yells at you every time you try to tell her something, you gotta let her know that's a boundary. That's how you protect yourself. If she, disrespects that boundary, there has to be a consequence. Mom, I can't help you on this because I'm trying to, but you keep yelling at me, so I can't do it. But you have to set that boundary with her. I feel trapped, but my mom needs me. But I also have dreams that I want to seek, which are becoming an actress and model, but she is not supportive. Okay. Do I just leave when I'm ready or convince her I need to do this because it's my dream? I think that you should follow your intuition. I truly think that you should follow your intuition. If you truly want to seek out and become a model and an actress, why not do it? I don't want to one day look up and saying I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Don't do it. When my sister is toxic with the type A personality and feels like she has all the answers, how do you deal with a person like this? I've tried talking to her, but she only sees her point of view. At that point, there's nothing you can do. If she does not accept what you're trying to say, you're saying it in a positive way, you're using positive nonverbal communication, and she's like, no, I don't get it. There's nothing you can do at that point because she's not willing to listen and hear. There are different types of listeners. We have listeners that listen to enhance their life, so they take in the things that you say to enhance their lives. Okay, we have people that listen just to obtain information. Okay, then we have people to listen just to sound like they're smart. Okay, so you'll tell them something and then they're listening just to be combative with you, okay, and sound like they're smart. That is good if you're a critical thinker and using it at the appropriate times, but sometimes people don't know how to switch it off. She feels a sense of entitlement and others need to be nice to her or she will remove them from her life. That's a boundary that she set for herself. A lot of the time when I try to say no to people, they get mad with me and say, be you, let so and so do X, Y, Z. How do I handle that without getting offended? You set your boundaries. Listen, they ask you, to do something that you cannot do, and you say no, and then they get mad at you. That is a toxic person. You need to end the conversation. If you get offended, remember, you don't avoid being offended. Okay, so you said, how do I handle this without getting offended? Being offended, getting scared, being worried about something is a warning sign. Your body is telling you this person is toxic. Third question. Now that we know how our trauma shows up in relationships or choosing the wrong ones, how can we change it? This trauma bond stuff is really intense, and yet you feel at home, and the chemistry, which I know is really just the familiarity, but still, what's the question? Okay, now that we know how our trauma shows up in relationships or in choosing the wrong ones, how can we change it? You have to set boundaries. Are you saying how do I heal myself? If you're saying, how do I heal myself? You have to recognize the trauma, and you're going to have to continuously go through a cycle of releasing, writing your fire letters to people, allowing them to understand how you feel, having the conversations with people, setting healthy boundaries. All of these are ways that you help yourself to heal. That doesn't mean that you wake up tomorrow and 30 years worth of trauma is gone. That doesn't mean that. You have to actively be working at it every day. That's why you have absolutely no time for people who are not ready to accept their faults. Okay, because just because they choose to stop where they are in their journey and you're choosing to move forward, it's not going to work. Do you suggest mirror work for affirmation and 6 statements? Do you think this helps? Yes. If you feel intuitively, like you want to do it, do it. I still have that little voice saying no to every affirmation. And this is why it's so important. After the 3 days, I still want you guys to say your affirmations every day. A lot of my students have gone through the same thing. You don't believe your affirmations yet because you still have that trauma. And that's why I want you to say it with conviction. I am strong. Okay. Food does not rule me. I am in control of my life. You have to say it with conviction so that you can mean it. Eventually, your physical self and your mental self will become balanced. Okay. What you're saying physically will start to align what you feel and what you think. I recently cut off a friend due to me not having any boundaries with her. She was manipulative, toxic, compulsive, liar, and negative. I told her I needed my space, which didn't end very well. Overall, she's a great person despite her issues, but I want to know, how long do you take time to heal from someone without cutting them off completely? I can't tell you exactly how long it would take, but what I will say, if she is not ready to admit her faults, okay, and you go through this whole healing process and you try to reconnect with her and she's still in the same spot, you might want to keep going. You cannot make anybody want to be something. If you come to them with a criticism and they get mad at you and they start yelling and manipulating you and lying to you, that's a toxic person. You got to start realizing. You see how you said, overall, she's a great person. It's no such thing as overall, I'm a great person. If you lying on me and cheating on me and doing all these things to me, that's toxic. That's a toxic person. They might not, lie every single day or every single moment, but you know that they're not trustworthy. Okay, so it's black and white. Are they toxic or are they not? And remember, because you say someone is toxic does not mean you're blaming them. Does not mean that they're a bad person that is evil and killing people. It doesn't mean that. But it's just where they are. That's where they at spiritually. And we just have to acknowledge that so we can protect ourselves. Now, we don't go around your family and your friends stop saying, I don't deal with her no more. She's too toxic. No, now you're toxic. Okay, because you're gossiping. So you have to realize these things for yourself, for your safety, your spiritual safety, your mental safety.
Arisha, we appreciate
you.
you.
Last time. Okay, so we're gonna do one quick role play, and I'm just gonna pick the people I see. So Leah, let's go, girl. Let's go, Leah. Yes. I'm gonna mute you. Okay, so let's do some role playing. So I want you to pick a criticism that you want to approach someone in your life with, okay? And I'm going to play the role of that person. Obviously, I don't know them. I don't know how they react. I'm going to react based on what I want you to say. So just go ahead and try it. I want to make sure you understand how to conduct yourself in a conversation when you're criticizing someone.
Okay.
I can't hear you, sis. Can y'all hear her? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I feel that you do not take ownership for your actions, and that anytime that I try to approach you about particular actions, you also either tell me that you don't remember saying that or doing that, or you come up with some lie. So I just feel that in order for us to continue to have a relationship, that you're really going to have to take ownership of those actions.
When did I lie to you? I need to know because I don't get it. Like, I just took you to get something to eat. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, there's been different occasions, and maybe it's my fault for not getting it.
Don't be coming down here and telling me it was my fault. It's not my fault, because I can go here and sit here and tell you all the things that you did to me, but I'm not doing that to you. Do you really have a problem with me?
Well, I'm telling you the problem that I have with you.
You're not listening. You're not listening to me. Because if I sat here and told you everything that you did to me, I would be the one that's wrong. So you're telling me that, you know, I don't do anything wrong and you don't do anything wrong either? I do things wrong and you don't?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I want to stick to what we're talking.
I don't hear you. I don't hear you. What are you saying?
Okay, so I'm going to end this conversation now until you can.
That's how I feel.
That's true. Oh my God.
Good job. You did a great job. You did a great job. Exactly. You listen for the question. You don't even entertain the charade and everything, because guess what? You're triggering them because you're pointing out what your experience is with them. And, you know, everybody has their deep wounds. That's why we go around people and, you know, we go and have a bad day at work and then we're like all mad and we're mad for like 2 days. It's not that the person is just a bad person and they really did something that really hurt you, but whatever they did triggered in you a wound that you've been carrying, and it brought that to surface. So that happens with people, right? You may say something to them and they're transferring a lot of trauma from their childhoods onto people, and you calling it out and you triggering them. So good job, good job, good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna call on someone else. Let's go, Empress. Let's go, Empress. Let me hear that criticism, sis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh my gosh, I was not expecting that. Okay. Hey family, I love y'all so much. Let's see. Okay, well I'm gonna go with what I've been telling you about my nail tech. Okay.
1 second. I'm a man in this conversation.
Oh well, that's easy too. Okay. Okay. I just feel like you're very open to me, but at the same time, you're closed off. You don't want to tell me what's really going on, but it's like you have admit that. So like, why did I don't even want to ask why, man. Why do you do that? Like, are you low key like intimidated because you think I have it all together and you don't, because you feel like you're in a certain circumstance that I'm not in because of how you perceive my life, because of what you've seen? Like, is it the situations you have going on? Like, what is it? Because I feel like you're using my reactions to things I don't like that I try to address to use against me just to separate yourself from me.
I don't even know what happened just now.
Exactly.
But listen,
He's like, I'm gone.
it's great though. I see people in the chat starting to say some things. So when I said I was a man, do you understand why I said I was a man?
Well, I took it as like the last experiences that I had with a man that I was experiencing, but I can switch it to dad. I can switch it to a family member. I can switch it to someone else. Like, I can go a whole bunch of different ways with men. So however you would like me to approach this situation, I can.
I want you to remember that men are logical first and then they feel second. So when you're approaching a man, you want to, right? So is that like you started talking about feelings first and you want to go like turn off at that time. But if you would approach it, it sounds like the issue was he doesn't like how you respond to things. So you talk about that fact. Last night I responded to so-and-so this way and you got mad at me. Why is that? A fact. And he got to approach that fact and give a response. And that's what you're looking for. Right? And you was kind of like, doing a little this, doing a little that. I can perceive that as, not balanced, but you tried because it was an opportunity for all of us. So I appreciate you. Just remember, let's remember when you're talking to men, that you're talking from a logical standpoint. Okay, talk about the logical, important facts. But once they have agreed to you and you're saying like, yes, I did do that, and you die, and then you guys wake up, then you talk about your feelings. I'm not saying to neglect your feelings. Okay, you guys have made up. You guys are closer together now. You're talking about it, and I'm glad we got to this point because I was feeling real bad. I was feeling like I was not heard. And then y'all gonna build on that a little bit more. He gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel like that. And then y'all gonna be hugging. If it's your boyfriend, y'all be kissing, making love, all that good stuff. All right, so it's okay to still talk about your feelings, but I'm just saying talk about the facts first and the logic, so they can.
But sis, I'm gonna let you go. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you move on to the next person. But I'm sorry, you got me started. Like literally, it's like because I'm not a logical person. I'm an impulsive person, but I've like worked on myself so much where I'm always doing reflection, so I can own up to my SHIT. Like, but it's like you know how men are. Like they're so scared, especially if you're like I don't want to just say younger, but if they're like younger minded. But I see my sisters in the chat like killing me, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I went hard for a second. I'm gonna just shut up. I'm sorry.
It's okay, but it's good that you acknowledging, you know, I guess in a sense flaws would be, you know, you're being impulsive, you're reacting to certain things. You have to learn how to conduct yourself, and it's hard. I be having times where I'm snapping as well. You know, I don't snap that bad, but I be having moments where I'm like, dang, I could have said that in a better way. Be a master at it, you know, one day, but you do have to work on yourself, right? Because when you want something from somebody or you want somebody to treat you some type of way, they want to expect the same thing from you. So that's why it's important for us to understand what we're going through, and so that understanding things and understand how they feel, so that you guys can come closer together and have a better understanding of each other. That's what communication is about. Just understanding how they think and feel, and understanding yourself how you think and feel. That's it.
I feel like I'm at a point in my life that's like, okay, I understand that I feel like I know how to communicate. Like, even if I have to own up to something, if I react a certain way that I don't want to react. So now it's just like, even though I know to cut these people off, now I'm at a point it's like, okay, like, especially with this course, it's like really helping me and motivating me because everyone in the chat can really agree. Like, we all relate. So it's like, no, like that person is just toxic, or they're just not. I don't even want to say toxic. They're just programmed a certain way and they're not ready and they haven't reached a certain level. So we have to respect that as well, no matter what our feelings or our logic is telling us. You get what I'm saying? But I appreciate you so much. Can I ask you one question though, since I'm here, so I don't have to ask at the end of class?
No problem.
Okay, I had sent this in an email, but I know you be busy. So, like, can you tell us how long it took for you? Because I know some of us, we've been on like this awakening or spiritual journey for a couple of years now, or like a year or so. So like, how long did it take you to be more consistent in your detoxing? Like, I know you may have to do it more and like practice it more, but I just want to like, so we really look up to you. So I feel like I want to know like, what's your experience as far as like being able to be more consistent in your detoxes and like being like, damn, like I'm really like doing this, like I'm really getting better at this. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we can be doing it for years, but it's just like.
But it says you won't even believe that I feel like I'm not consistent to myself, right? Because I'm like raw liver for 30 days, I can do it, and I be like, oh, that's life. But honestly, I don't look at. Let me say it another way. When I feel like I cannot accomplish something in my diet, I immediately go to healing whatever wounds I have. I have been, because if you become consistent in that, your diet will get better. I have been consistently assessing myself when I find that I'm addicted to something, or I want to let go of sugar or salt or whatever it may be. I have been consistent in the self-assessment cycle. So I have been doing that for probably about 2 to 3 years. But I've been vegan for 5 years. I've been on an awakening journey since 2012.
Okay, right. Thank you for just saying that. I just needed confirmation and anyone else who did, because like, I get what you're saying, but it's easy when you hear from someone else, because people can look at you and be like, oh, you doing this. And it's like, nigga, it's really hard. Like, don't be just thinking like, I really appreciate you for just answering that. We just really appreciate you. Like, you are our inspiration. You are so appreciated. I'm going to shut up now so everyone else can go, but thank you.
No problem, sis. We love your energy. Yes. Okay, we're going to do one more person. It's going to be DeMarco. DeMarco, are you there? Are you here? Are you listening? I want to just get from a king's perspective. You're there, DeMarco? You hear me? If you don't answer, I'll go ahead and start answering questions. I just want to see if we can do a guy's perspective. Okay, so he didn't take his mic off mute. But I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions in the chat. Okay. Is GABA, GammaCom, GABA, I say GABA, but GABA, is it GammaCom? I'm not familiar with that, but if you can send me a picture of this, of the ingredients, I can read over it and tell you what it is, but I'm not familiar with that brand or supplement. These remedies are all supplements. Yes, they're all supplements, but you can find herbs that contain them. That makes sense. Or foods. What about sea moss for minerals? Very good. I don't know how it was right. People are talking? I definitely don't hear y'all talking. What does spicy food represent? Spicy food is anger as well. Hey, Arisha, you can't hear us. People have been trying to talk to you. I don't know why I can't hear.
We were trying to speak to you during the class.
Oh, I don't know why it wasn't allowing me. What was the name of the first book that is 600 pages? That book is Holistic Self-Diagnosis by Dr. Laila Africa. Best book ever. It is what truly woke me up. It is hard to understand, but that's why I said you're going to read it for about 2-3 years. I'm so used to the consequences to be me hurting their feelings. No, you're not. If you are not saying it, if you're doing everything right, you know, I said it in a positive way. I didn't criticize them in front of people. I expressed myself non-verbally in a positive way. I was specific, okay? I talked about boundaries. I talked about them feeling like you hurt their feelings is just them not wanting to own up to and be an adult and actually have this constructive conversation. And you cannot own that. If you know you went through the checklist and did everything right, you was prepared for the conversation and things like that, you don't hold on to that. You know, you just gotta let people grow in their own pace. Is the Herbal Remedies book by Phyllis Balch? I do have that book. I can't hear. Sorry, y'all. I do have that book as well, but the book that I'm talking about, I'm going to send a screenshot. I highly recommend you get this book and try to get it. It's not required for next week, but it will help you tremendously. If you can get it or if you have it, it's called Herbal Dictionaries, Remedies from A to Z. This is by Dr. Laila Africa as well. He really breaks down all herbs. It's not mandatory to have it for next week. So don't think you have to have it. I'm going to give you guys a list of some herbs. You don't have to have it, but it is very helpful. Very, very helpful. It'll save you a lot of Googling time. And I'll post a picture of it.
I don't know if you can see this book that I'm holding up, but I was just wanting to know, is this book good too?
Which book? Let me see. Nutritional Healing. Who is it by? It looks like Prescription for Nutritional Healing. I have theirs, which is called Prescription for Herbal. I like the Herbal Healing book. Okay, I think I answered all the questions tonight, guys. Oh, when taking supplements, can you take them all together or at once? No, you cannot take them all together. First of all, some minerals are absorbed in fat, some minerals are absorbed in water. Other minerals need to be taken together in order to be absorbed in the body. So we will go over that, and that's why I said we're going to need these last 2 weeks to really get supplements or understanding how to take them.
Arisha, I asked you a question.
I'm listening.
I just realized today my daughter is very toxic to me because of a learning disability. She is 8 years old. She's a Virgo. I set goals for her. I give her boundaries. I tell her if she doesn't do something as far as her learning, because she has to go to summer school, which started this week, and she has yet to sit down and take it serious. I have to work, so she's with the babysitter. She still doesn't take it serious. So now I have to take off of work so she can complete her summer school course. And I'm trying to figure out how to deal with her so she doesn't cause me to get to the point where I was at today, where I wanted to eat all kind of bad foods because it really stressed me out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely understand. Thank you for your question. So one thing we want to remember I believe you said she has a learning disability. So when we put aside someone, we have to make sure they have the means to actually change it. So if her learning disability inhibits the way or the pace that she learns or the pace that she changes, that is something that we have to be prepared for. But what it sounds like is that she triggers you, which is why you had the cravings and things like that. So it sounds like there's a lot more healing that has to happen with you in terms of releasing. Okay, you yourself. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, if you find that you're always irritable with your daughter, when we get off of this video, and again, we're going to go into this for the next 2 weeks, I want you to look up mineral deficiencies that causes irritability. Most likely, you don't even have the minerals available within the body to be able to handle the situation, because if she has a learning disability, it's going to be, a period of time that you continue to work with her.
Okay.
Okay. So I want you to do that, and I want you to put in the chat which minerals you find. And then we're going to talk about how to pair them together so that they're absorbed in the body. And you should see some change. That used to happen to me as well. My children, they be doing stuff too. But I will always see, like, as soon as they ask me something, I get irritable. And I found out that I did research and looked into the minerals that I was deficient in. And when I start to incorporate them in my diet, I still be irritable, but I'm able to control my emotions a lot more than I used to.
Okay, and can you give me an example of what kind of goals I should try thereafter to set with her, to help her understand, like you was trying to teach us about her dump list and ask her what bothers her and what triggers her to not wanting to do it. Like, would you be able to try to give me a way to break it down to her so that way I can start working on her while I'm working on me?
Yes, I highly recommend that you first do the assessment for her. So you will treat her like she's a client. Before you even approach her, do the assessment on her based on your experience. And you can ask her some questions. So I don't know what you've asked her so far, but try to help you understand what her stressors are. So we did the Virgos and everything last class. Look at what her stressors are and try to relate that to what you see happen in day-to-day life. Or ask her to write a letter about, writing is really therapeutic as well. And this is not a part of the course, but I'm going to do this specifically for you. I'm going to create a video tomorrow, and I'm going to show you, based on how she writes, what she actually feels. Okay? So I'm going to do that for you tomorrow. I'm not going to hold a course about it, but I'm going to make a video, and I'm going to do a lesson on that just for you so that you can help children. It should help everyone here with children as well.
That's the thing, Arisha. She doesn't want to write. I can tell my daughter to go write, and she'll write scribble scrabble.
Okay,
because that's what you want to do.
You can tell by their posture, right? So even if you said she's 8 years old, if she has a posture that's like leaning forward, that means she's needy, okay? That means she's dealing with a lot of stress. She's dealing with depression, okay? She's dealing with anger, okay? That means she needs something. If they have a posture that is forward, it means that they need something. Okay. If they have a posture that is more uneven, you can even tell by the way that they walk and the way their shoes look, like it goes deep. And that's why I highly recommend the holistic self-diagnosis book, because he goes into that. But you can look at their posture. If she's unleveled on one side, you understand that the left side is more logic. You understand the right side is more creativity. The left means masculine, the right means feminine. And I know that might be confusing, but stay with me here. If she's more on the masculine side, she's showing unbalance in her masculine side, the left side, then that will show you she has problems with solving problems, okay? She has problems with analyzing things logically, okay? She's going and operating her feelings more, okay? So remember I said in the first lesson, masculine and feminine, we know that as male or female, but it's actually a classification of energy. All right, so you're trying to figure out, is she more acidic or alkaline? Is she masculine or feminine? Okay, so that's what we're going to. And that's why I do a follow-up course that gets into that, but you got to know this and understand this first for that, because it won't make sense. But yes, we can evaluate her as a client and, understand what she's going through, but there's many ways. So what I would like you to do, and I would do this as a bonus for you all, just because I love you all so very much, I want you to
love you too.
You know what I'll do? I'll put something together. I'll let y'all vote on this. I'm gonna do it like that. At the end of the course, I usually do a bonus class where we either do one of two things. We talk about entrepreneurship, or I will do something that you guys want to vote on. Okay, so it can be dealing with children, it could be whatever you guys want to come up with in the chat. I'll do that for you all. But it usually is around entrepreneurship, okay, starting your holistic business or things like that. So if you guys want to vote on our graduation class, whatever we want to talk about in that class, you guys can vote on it. You guys can take a poll. Y'all can tell me what it is, and I'll take a poll, and we can help each other out as much as possible. Because we want to get into analyzing people without them actually having a talk. That's going to take a whole hour. It's not going to, I can't cover everything in an hour, but I can cover the key points. I'm going to need an actual time slot for that. Okay.
Thank you, Arisa.
No problem. Much love to all of you.
Much love to you all too.
Much love to you. Can you answer this question real quick, please? Because I've been trying to get the answer for it. I have loved spicy food since I was a child, and I feel like I take that from the island side of me. But can you tell me what it means? I want spicy food all the time. I need spice in everything ever. My juices, I totally like.
Spicy food usually means that you're dealing with anger as well, okay? Anger and aggression.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I'm such an angry person inside. I'm so resentful. I be trying to heal. Okay, thank you. I love you.
Somebody asked, is spicy food good for you? Yes, spicy food is good. If it's spiced with natural herbs such as cayenne, that's good. It helps the circulatory system. It helps high blood pressure. It helps many other ailments as well. It helps people that have clogged arteries to increase circulation. So spicy food is good, but if you're eating Frank Red Hot and Tabasco and all that, which is made with a lot of vinegar, then no, that's not good. That dehydrates the body. So spice with herbs is good. Okay. Of course.
Thank you, sis.
No problem. Let's come to you all. We will be talking tonight. I know that some of you submitted resubmissions for your meal plan. I will get to that today and between tonight and tomorrow. I see you asking me to post pictures of the books. I will do that. And then we'll do the poll on what type of class y'all want y'all bonus class to be. Okay. Peace, love, and light. You will get this recording tomorrow. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Love you.
Okay, love you. Thank you.